Hey everybody, and welcome back to Trekyards podcast time. I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Commander Cockings, but strictly speaking, Stuart, is this not more of a Fleet Yards podcast?
It is. Yes. Yes. Today we're going to be taking a look at Rogue One, discussing, kind of doing a review and just our thoughts on it. And yeah, K2SO will join us because I told him you had to.
Yes, but he had a few words about that, didn't he? Ooh.
He did.
And you just said nope. I'm the boss. Now, I want to point out before we get started, I watched all your movie reviews before, when you made them about all the Trek movies and stuff. So it's nice to be finally on an actual movie review with you. I know we've done I know we did a Beyond discussion as well, but it's nice to always be on the movie reviews with you as well, Stuart. As a fan,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do one when it comes out as well. It's on Blu-ray. So
yeah.
But anyway, I've seen it twice now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's enough to really kind of get a grasp of it because I paid attention.
Yes.
I wasn't distracted.
Yes, I saw it once, and I went in knowing, obviously, the basic story, and having watched the first trailer, but not reading anything else about it. Deliberately, because I wanted to be surprised. This was one of the ones that it was going to be what it was going to be, and I wanted to go in with an open mind, sort of thing.
I love how people are like, no spoilers. Well, they get the Death Star plans and they get them to the rebels. There's spoilers. Sorry, guys. That's the plot of the movie. So there you go.
Yeah, like the day after, there was that amazing post on Facebook saying, George Lucas announced for the new Rogue One sequel, A New Hope, and it's like, it's just...
Yeah.
That's just, sums it up well. So were you excited about this movie and going sort of back a step? Was this a movie you were looking forward to?
Not initially. I wasn't... I didn't really excite me to hear that it was coming out. It was like, whatever. Then I saw the first trailer where you got the X-Wings and you saw all the stuff from, A New Hope, and you're like, oh, this could be good. This is kind of the Star Wars movie that I think everybody wanted for what The Force Awakens was. And then the build up to it all year, I did get excited, but initially not really. I was like, they're, it's a cash cow for Disney. That's what I thought. So.
I loved the first teaser with the Death Stars coming to view, and I was just like, oh, this is going to be something interesting. And as the trailer started coming out, when the first trailer came out, I was, my impression was, wow, it looks like a fan film. Which it is, because they're fans who made it, as opposed to filmmakers, like, George Lucas made Star Wars look like a film he wanted to make it look like, Mm-hmm. So it was a Star Wars film. But now you get filmmakers who have grown up on that stuff, and so now they're fans. And so I thought it looked super sort of handheld, and as if, if we had Tobias Richter or someone good with CG for ground stuff, you can make it yourself, which is good. It's very integrated, it's very real, but at the same time, it didn't look like a Star Wars film. And obviously, you want to see a Star Wars film, you want to see a Star Wars film. And so I was like, oh well. I mean, I'm obviously going to watch it, but I wasn't overly excited by it.
Well, it's interesting you said the fan film thing because, they were trying to capture the look and feel of the original Star Wars. And to do that is kind of fan filmish because you're trying to copy something else. You're not doing something original like George Lucas did.
Yes.
So, I see where you're going with that.
Although they were trying to capture the look of the world, but not of the style of the filming, because it's so handheld and so dynamic. And Star Wars, they are filmed differently. Obviously, cameras are 10 times smaller and 10 times better resolution, you know what I mean? But obviously the look. Well, let's go straight into the movie then. So I had a few feelings as soon as the film started.
Me too.
Yeah, you can start off with that then, Stuart. So the film, you're in the cinema, you're sitting down, you've got your popcorn, you're thinking, the best movie ever, and it begins. What do you think?
Well, okay. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I'm like, sweet. And then Planet. There's not even the Star Wars, just the Star Wars. I didn't care. I knew there wouldn't be an opening crawl. We had heard that.
I hadn't read that, so I was surprised.
Oh, but we didn't even get the Star Wars logo that, which bummed me out.
Or even just the pan down. That's a classic.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a pan down.
There's like a pan side. It's like an homage to itself, but trying to be different now.
Yeah, so there's that. I mean, and the music at the beginning didn't grab me. Nothing really grabbed me at the beginning of the movie. I'm going to talk more about music a little bit later, but it needed something more dynamic and to grab your attention at the beginning. So the beginning didn't impress me. initially.
Yes. Did the film itself impress you? We'll go straight to a bottom line and then we'll dull back again.
Okay, I've heard a lot of things online since it came out. Best Star Wars movie ever. No, it's not. It is not. It is in my top 3.
Ooh.
I would probably rank them Star Wars A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, then Rogue One.
Okay.
But it is a good movie because it's in my top 3, obviously. But there are a lot of problems with it. But yeah, we can get into those as we progress through this. It's a good movie, but it's not the best Star Wars movie, and it was a little bit of a letdown for me. I kind of went in with hopes a little bit higher.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like I gotta stop doing that.
It's so risky to do
quite
that.
often. Yeah.
I went to see Passengers with zero knowledge, and I was like, "Oh, it's so good!" You know, it does make a difference. Yeah. So first scene for me, I was surprised by the sudden start, and I was like, "Oh, I was doing something different," and it straight away doesn't feel like Star Trek. Well, it doesn't feel like Star Trek. Freudian slip there. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. I'm watching. I'm thinking this could literally be any film ever. And even to the lander coming in, see Stormtrooper, I'm still thinking this doesn't. You could literally go film this yourself. Nothing here is special. Nothing here is Star Wars. It's just a film, which is not a bad thing. And this is what they were going for. So that is part of it, which means good job, guys. But at the same time, you go into this universe, and obviously I've played a lot of the games. I've read a lot of the books, seen most of the animated stuff. So my dad said to me after, I've only seen the 7 films, so obviously I see it a certain way. But you know the whole universe, you know what's missing. I'm like, well, yeah, but at the same time, I'm not biased by I need that amazing opening, I need that open crawl, because I'm used to the bigger world. But yet it still didn't have that essence, which I was very surprised about.
Yeah, see, it's interesting you said that, because yeah, it could have been any film, but what would have made it a Star Wars film is while that shuttle was landing, have a more epic musical score. The musical score in this film really fell flat for me as overall. There's a few little notes that tied into the original.
Yeah.
But I know that the guy had like 2 weeks to do it. Apparently something happened with the original composer.
Wow.
And they had to scramble to get somebody last minute. So,
wow.
But the music is not memorable for me. And I think that opening scene, particularly to get you in the Star Wars mood, it needed something more impactful and more of a punch at the beginning. And it just lacked that totally, especially without the opening crawl. If I had the opening crawl and some non-Star Wars-esque music, I still would have been in the Star Wars mindset.
Yeah, because it builds you that sudden burst and then brings you back down to see the story. But you had nothing, you're just a low trod into the start.
Yeah, you didn't get the classical and the Star Wars logo fade off in the distance with that music. If they kept that at least and not the crawl.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think now what was the music, and none of it. I remember nothing about the music.
Yeah, I was even looking for it the second time around because I didn't remember it the first time.
Yeah.
And there's a few, like I said, there's a few little hints that tie in with the original trilogy. A few moments, and it's like, okay, that feels familiar.
I mean, I felt the exact same about The Force Awakens. But having now got the soundtrack and listened to it a few times, there's a couple of really nice pieces, but it's much more to give you the emotion rather than overpower. It's not trying to be memorable music so much as tell your brain how to feel. But actually, listen to it on its own. The Force Awakens has some good songs. This film, I don't even think it has some good songs. No offense to the person who made it. I just left no impression, which is not good, because a lot of times films have really good soundtracks and you're thinking yes, and they like I said, it tells you how to feel, and especially Star Wars. I mean, there's so many truly incredible, one of a kind, yet they managed to make a dozen one of a kind songs, to John Williams. Yeah.
So overall, like throughout the whole thing, the musical score really fell flat for me. But that ties in a lot with, I don't know if we just want to talk about the movie chronologically or if we just want to talk broad strokes.
Yeah, this is difficult because there's so much to talk about. This is why I said it probably wouldn't be a one-parter, guys.
I think let's just talk kind of broad strokes, I think.
Okay.
And then we can
get
talk about specifics as we go.
Okay. Broad strokes, Stuart. Go for it.
One of the things that I noticed was at the end of the movie...
Oh, also, spoiler alert. We're going no holds barred. I mean, we're here to talk about
Uh,
the film, so
yeah, yeah. At the end of the movie, when I was walking out, I'm trying to remember anyone's name. There's Jyn Erso,
Mon
and there's
Mothma. Mon
K2SO.
Mothma's in it. Gen- Grand
Yes,
Moff Tarkin, Darth
but
Vader.
but the main Rogue One guys, I don't know any of their names still after seeing it the second time. The blind guy is Shinadu or something. He was amazing, but the point I'm getting at is the character development was shit. The character development was Michael Bay character development in a Transformers movie, meaning there is none. And I know these people are going to die. Spoilers. You know, you don't have a lot of time to build that up. You don't have 3 movies to get a feel for their personalities or whatever. But the beginning of the movie was very slow, and the introduction of the characters, I think, was very weak. And I just didn't care about any of them. So, yeah, the character development I found was really lacking for me. Second time around, there is a little bit more of it when you watch it again, but I still don't know anybody's name. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, I went into the movie having already read at least headlines, amazing movie, really well done, all these great things, and I went in, I watched it, and I was sort of thoroughly disappointed, and very, very underwhelmed, and very not overly positive, and coming out, my dad was like, it's the best Star Wars movie ever. Like I said, Beyond was the best Star Trek movie ever, and I'm thinking, I mean, not where I sit, and Marie, my girlfriend next to me, she said, "Oh yeah, I really liked it." Mum said, "Oh, I really liked it," and here I was waiting for everyone else to say what they thought, and then I said, "I didn't like it that much," and the car just gets quiet, and I feel like I'm the one that's going against everybody, and I'm thinking, am I something wrong? Because everyone seems to love it, and then I'm so glad because we just tend to be on the same page, which is a good thing because I think we're both reasonably smart men that have good taste. And Red Letter Media and some of the news sites have said the problems that I also saw, so I don't feel as alone now as when I watched it.
And note to all the viewers, we haven't discussed this film prior to this. We're both just talking about it for the first time now, so
I'm happy.
It's interesting.
Let me echo your sentiments there. Words are strong because you can't not like this movie. It's a Star Wars movie. It tells a story that you want to know, sort of. But from purely its own piece, I did not like the first act at all. Pretty much just didn't like it. Second act's bearable. The third act's pretty darn good. And the best bit is the end by leaps and bounds, and the last bit at the end bit is the best bit. The first bit is pretty bad. And obviously it wouldn't work as a standalone film. The characters, as you said, are atrocious. Really, really atrocious. As when I came out of this film, I said, wow, Force Awakens, I appreciate it so much more now. Because each character in that film is really well done. You care about all of them straight away. They're all likeable, they're all sort of funny, they all have quirks, all the character, every single one of them. And I walk out of this film thinking, they're all dead. Cool. I mean, I didn't care about any of them. The robot was fine, he was funny, but he was forced, and I'll go into that later. And Jyn also was, I mean, they're not characters. None of them were. They were just people, and you could easily have taken out 3 of them, given that time, which was not a lot, to the other characters, and actually given them story. I would feel better about the movie if they all died and I cared about them. If I liked them all and they died, it'd have emotional impact. They died, and I thought, I mean, I literally don't care. Which is harsh, because it genocide that whole station on the planet. But they were not good characters, and they were all wasted and wasteful. And it's a shame.
Yeah. K2SO was by far my favorite character. Not just because I love droids. Like, when I first saw the design of this droid, I thought, I'm not going to like this guy.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't look good. But after I saw the movie, I remembered his name, which is important. And I loved his attitude. I thought it was awesome. His death was probably the most impactful for me as a droid, for Christ's sake.
So, I mean, yes, absolutely. He was like, no, oh man.
The only other one that came close was the blind guy. Can't remember his name. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me.
The not Jedi.
Yeah, him and his buddy had kind of an interesting relationship.
Well, they were totally either gay, bi, I mean, come on, there was little subtext there, which is fine. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they're just good friends.
I
I
got a
really do.
small relationshipy vibe from that, just a
Oh,
bit.
I didn't. I
Okay,
didn't. I just figured that they had been through a lot together, battle wise, and they were one was covering the back of the other one.
yeah,
Um, but when he died, it was the first time I didn't actually even really notice. I don't know why. The second time I watched it and he died, it was a little bit more impactful for me because, his buddy ran out there and cradled him in his arms and stuff, and it was like,
it's
okay,
it's
well,
it's annoying because the scenes are all good,
yeah,
and yet it's weird. I mean, okay, think back for a second. Now, the prequels, like I said, well, I don't know if we did, don't think we did a review of Force Awakens. I appreciated the prequels more after seeing Force Awakens because it actually showed the universe. Force Awakens is that wafer thin in terms of the Star Wars universe. 3 planets, don't care about any of them. For at least the prequels, they have all these big planets. You get a sense of the universe. It's the Star Wars world. I was missing that in Force Awakens. But they didn't do characters well. Did you care about, Padme? Did you care about Anakin? Did you care about, or at least new characters? Did you care about Padme? Did you care about anyone from the prequels? In the same vein of these characters, like, who do you care more about? Even though you got 3 films with them, like, think about the first Star Wars. Did you like Padme and care about her?
I liked her. Don't know if I care. Like, I like the character. I don't know if I cared about her. That's a tough one, actually. Yeah, I don't know. We had all that time to get to know them, but at the same time, it's like what's going to happen to these characters at the end of this arc.
Yep.
So you're already going into it. Same with for Rogue One. So you're kind of going into going, I can't get too attached to them because I know what happens to them. He becomes Darth Vader. She dies. They have twins. Whatever. Ben Kenobi becomes an old guy and gets So all the story arcs for these people.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue One, we kind of went into it expecting that everybody was going to die. At least I did. Apparently, there was a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots for
the
this.
entire ending, yeah, absolutely.
And I think in the original ending, some of them might have survived.
Yep,
from what I've heard. And it'd be interesting to see that, but I don't know if that's why I went in and I didn't pay attention, I guess, to the beginning part. That was very slow, like you said, very uninteresting. I don't know if it's that expectation of what's going to happen that kind of ruined it for me, or if it's just bad storytelling. Because like I said, the second time around, I did notice a few more character development moments. And I do need to see it a few more times, obviously, to really get a good feel for it. Compared to all the other Star Wars viewings I've done for all the other movies.
Yeah, it's a strange sub thing and a sub thing. It's a prequel and sequel and standalone, and you know what's going to happen, and it's like takes place over 1 day or 2 days, and it's a big ensemble piece and it's sort of a heist movie.
Yeah.
And it's the darkest, but also the who cares least-ish. I don't know.
I have a feeling that some of the rewrites and reshoots might have ruined it. I think the original might have been better, but because it's designed a movie by committee with the corporation that is Disney, I think nothing gets done that way. And, nothing good gets done
I thought
that
it was
way.
still pretty cohesive, considering. It just wasn't a very good movie.
It was cohesive enough, but... And this has been talked about a lot, too. A lot of the clips we see in the trailers are not in the movie. So I was anticipating a lot of stuff to be said and to be seen.
Forrest Whitaker has a different haircut.
Yeah.
He goes from bald to big, flowy, and that's quite a radical change.
I'd like to know the decisions behind these, or the thought process behind these decisions to change these things. But yeah, I was waiting for a lot of stuff, and it just never came, and it's like, okay, either I missed it, which I know I didn't because I was waiting for it, or something's going on here that, I'm hoping on the Blu-ray that some of these scenes will still be included, but hopefully. I'm not sure that's going to happen either. Because apparently Disney, if it's an unused concept for a movie or a script, it gets shredded and never sees the light of day. So,
well, we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, Force Awakens. How much of that stuff was in it? But let's go back to the actual film itself for a second. So obviously, I've said I'm sort of disappointed by it, but also didn't really enjoy it that much. I mean, I mean, do you want to go? Why don't we go? Why don't we say the best bits of it, and then we can go back the rabbit hole of what we didn't like. What was your favourite and best bits? Do you think of this movie?
So I think some of the best bits for me, obviously, are the last space battle is phenomenal, especially in 3D. I thought it was really great. A lot of the angles they used, like little GoPros almost strapped to the X-wings, I thought was a fantastic touch for a modern movie. So to see the X-wings and stuff in a new battle situation was amazing. I know we saw the new X-wings in The Force Awakens, but to see the classic ones. Plus, there's unused footage from Star Wars and New Hope in there of Red Leader and Gold Leader. Clips that were never used.
Well, no, the leaders were CG, but other pilots were.
No, the leaders were not CG'd. Those were unused clips from Star Wars and New Hope.
I've heard both, because I heard that other pilots were, and then they were CG'd.
Nope. Those clips were legit. The CG we'll talk about in a minute, I'm sure.
Yes.
But, so yeah, those final scenes were amazing. The ending of the movie with Vader was phenomenal. Made me want to go home and watch or play The Force Unleashed video games, which I was doing all last night.
So that first one is an incredible game.
Yeah,
it really is.
I started with the first one again, and then yeah. But so yeah, I think that's the main things for me is seeing the AT-AT walkers again, are different ones, but the main space battle at the end.
I think they're cargo transports.
Yes, they
don't
are.
Make much difference, but okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think just the end of the movie is my favorite. Nothing really stands out for me in the beginning except the fact that the Death Star is actually doing things, using one reactor bursts to just kill cities, and that's kind of cool. A feature we'd never seen before, and it's good that this was used more than once. So yeah, I think that's probably my biggest takeaways from it.
So you basically have three best bits: the end space battle, and the Death Star bits.
Yes.
So not the story, not the characters, not the... That's a lot of... Okay, well, there we go. I guess it's more negative.
The blind guy is interesting. Okay. The fact that he's not a Jedi, but it's still this relationship with the Force. Like, it's a faith that he has.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. And I like him a lot. Okay. So, yeah, that's another thing.
Well, my favourite bits, I loved the actual CG special effects in this. All the space stuff was really nicely done, because that obviously having done a Fleet Yards on the Death Star and the Star Destroyer, I saw a lot of those details and thought, wow, it's a very simple model for a Star Destroyer. It could be physical, it could be CG, but it looks so right. Seeing the Death Star again, really nice. Being inside it, having it exist in the world, because in the first movie it's almost just there as a story device. It's almost who cares in a sense, like it's just a thing to go to and blow up. This it was actually an entity within itself, and it was good to give it that finally the extra bit of screen time. The end was good. The space battle wasn't so much a space battle as a space event, I feel like, because stuff was happening. They were attacking a thing, and then a fleet comes in, and then they sort of attack with other bigger ships, but really, it really is just a sequence of events. At no point are the capitals attacking the Star Destroyers. You see these big balls. No, they can't win, so they're doing other strategies to just get the shield down. There's no real battle. It's just, which was good though, because it was very much realistic what you would do. Okay, now we can use the hammerhead to move the thing and do a thing. Very, very clever. Looked great. But there was never a we can win battle. It was never a end of Star Wars 6. All these ships, it's big, and everything's shooting, everything's firing, or it's the start of Star Wars 3, it's big, but everything's shooting. It was much more event-based, but it looked great. I liked the references for the most part. I caught most of them, which I was happy about. Having then watched the videos of what Easter eggs didn't you catch, I thought, I caught most of them, nice. And I liked all the Darth Vader stuff. Him being on Mustafar was amazing. So it adds one extra dimension to his character by just having him be on this planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then seeing him in that Bacta tank was a really amazing moment for me, because seeing him without arms, without legs, just trying to stay alive in this tank, being human, being the man, because we can't look at Darth Vader the same way. We know his entire story, literally from birth almost to death. So, and loss of soul. So to see him in this, he's still a fragile, half-dead man, and then he puts on the garb, and then he is just a leader, and then is a badass. Like, that was great, although I didn't like this conversation with the dude as much, but his end kicking ass thing was pretty great. Although, again, any Jedi would also be as effective, because you can't, if you can deflect blaster bolts, no one with a blaster can win. It might look kick ass, but no Jedi would be less effective.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess seeing the old Star Wars stuff, but it wasn't even highlighted it, and it shouldn't be. It was just, well, that's what TIE fighters would look like. That's the stormtroopers. I've literally gone to charity events where there's been stormtroopers, so I've walked with stormtroopers around, and I've done CG of Star Destroyers flying. So that's so normal for me in a sense. Which adds on to the fan film feel, because I've literally been with stormtroopers. But those are my highlights.
Cool. Well, I've actually missed one, or actually two, that I thought of while you were talking. First was K2SO. I think he's a fantastic character and a great addition. I didn't think he was forced at all. I thought it was really awesome. And I think he reminded me of Deadpool for some reason. Just kind of the off-the-cuff, say what you think kind of attitude. So he's one of my favorites for sure. And the scene where they're putting the weapon in the Death Star, that was phenomenally done.
That was so small, those Star Destroyers. So small. Beautiful.
But yeah, that was a great scene, and I really enjoyed that. So, yeah. I do have a question for you about the Star Destroyers, however. Did they not appear a little too white to you?
They were really white. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think they were quite that white. And I watched New Hope after I got home from the second viewing, and you see elements of white, but it's not. I don't know. I think they overdid the white on the Star Destroyers.
Yeah, they went for very strong light to create harsh shadows, which is why, I guess, because it would push out the grey and make it white. I mean, they probably also want to look like, to mirror the stormtroopers. The Imperial vibe is very much clean whites and blacks. So yes, but yeah. So I know we're going to do two parts on this, because we're approaching time to stop for this week, and then we'll jump back onto this next week. But I want to hit the K2SO before we end, because you mentioned that. Because he's sort of a good point, but sort of not a good point for me. I did like him. Obviously, he was very well written, great addition. Yeah. The fact that it's just an average droid that is a worker droid who happened to be reprogrammed, great. Same thing for other droids in other universes, whatever. Now, I said forced because it's like saying, right, we need some comedy. What are we going to do? Well, let's brainstorm. How about a robot? Oh yeah, we need a robot. How about a robot that is sarcastic? Oh, great, yeah, throw that in. And so every single time they're in a scene, something happens, and then they say, let's make the robot say something funny. And it's like, it was never... It was still funny, but it was so... Let's just put him in the scene, let's give him this one-liner to be funny. And that's the entire reason for the one-liner. And it doesn't take away from it, but he did not need to be like that or be in there, and it could be any other character. So he was put in there to just be the funny lines, and therefore forced. Because it's just... Yeah, that's my thought process.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, because the first time I watched it, looking back, I thought, okay, every scene he was in, he said something funny. Watching it the second time, there are some scenes where he's literally just... He's not being funny for the sake of being funny. He's relaying information or whatever. I noticed it a lot more the second time. So I see what you're saying, and I think that was their way of injecting some humor into this very dark movie, because we know what happens, because it's awful. But... okay, I agree and I disagree at the same time.
I think it's more those middle scenes when they're going from place to place. It's like he's just there to be the funny element, and they planned, like, they didn't think at the start, and let's throw in a robot sarcastic. They thought, right, what's the comedy relief? This because of this because of this. It's a very formulaic. Like you said at the start, it was a film made by committee. They're saying, how can we sell toys? What sort of toy? A new robot. Let's make him something different. Let's make him this other thing. Be like Smarky, like Deadpool. Let's make him that character. So it wasn't a natural addition. That said, he was great, but I just felt he was a bit forced.
Okay.
But still funny. And should come back.
Yes.
should be rebooted. But I think that sums up this somewhat cluttered, somewhat all over the place, but it's obviously a big movie to think about because it fits into the whole wider universe, and we have lots of thoughts about it, and we haven't discussed this prior, so it's very much off the cuff. But I think if you join us next week, we'll talk about the end of the film, maybe the beginning of the film again, what we don't like, maybe how we could fix it, some other thoughts. Yeah. And just, I don't know, we'll discuss more about next week. But Stuart, take us out.
All right, guys. So hope you enjoyed this little look at Force Awakens. Not the Force Awakens. Oh my God.
Force Awakens 2, Rogue One.
And yeah, next week we're going to talk about the things we really didn't like about the movie and a few other little details. So tune in for the next podcast for sure.
More to talk about.
As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that you can get notified every time we release something and you hear us talk or cough, as the case may be. And if you like learning new stuff from us, definitely do that, and we will be here next time to entertain you all.
And if you want to support this show and this channel, go over to Patreon, our monthly donation service. We are getting close, guys, to our full goal, so please give and help us make this show, every show, all of our many, many shows every single week, or a one-time donation at Trekyards.com. Click that donate button, it'll go straight to our PayPal, and we can use it to help buy more kit, buy more just useful things to, again, help the show keep going, and you get better stuff, so everyone wins.
Absolutely. So don't forget to tune in for part 2 of our Rogue One look, discussion, review, whatever you want to call it, next week. Yes. Until then, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coons.
Bye, guys. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me. I'm not going to say it again because it gets old really quick.
Mm-hmm.